8,000 Salvadorans with TPS. Shifting focus to what's taking place in the Middle East, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that Israel will not allow Hezbollah to rebuild its military forces and expects the Lebanese government to disarm the group. This has come hours after an Israeli airstrike on a southern suburb of Beirut targeted Haytham Ali Tabatabai, Hezbollah's acting chief of staff. Now, the strike was the first near the Lebanese capital in months and took place despite a US-brokered truce which has been in place for about a year. It was inked back in November 2024. Hezbollah has not yet confirmed Tabtabai's death, although a senior official has stated that a central figure had been targeted and called the strike a red line. Lebanon's President Joseph Aoun is calling on the international community to step in and stop further Israeli attacks. Listen in.
חיסל את עלי טבטבאי, רמטכ"ל ארגון הטרור חיזבאללה. טבטאי הוא רב מרצחים. ידיו מגואלות בדם של ישראלים ואמריקנים רבים. ולא בכדי, ארצות הברית הציעה פרס כספי של $5 מיליון על הראש שלו. טבטאי שימש כמפקד בכיר בכוח רדואן, זה הכוח שהתכונן לכבוש את הגליל ולשחוט הרבה מאזרחינו. לאחרונה הוא הביא את חידוש המאמצים של חיזבאללה להתחמש מחדש. זה כמובן לאחר המכות הקשות שחיזבאללה ספג במבצע הביפרים בפגיעה במאגרי הטילים שלו, וכמובן בחיסול נסראללה. אני מודה לצה"ל ולכוחות הביטחון שביצעו היום פעולה מקצועית, מדויקת ומוצלחת. המדיניות שאני מוביל ברורה לחלוטין. תחת הנהגתי, מדינת ישראל לא תאפשר לחיזבאללה לבנות את כוחו מחדש, ולא נאפשר לו לחזור להוות איום על מדינת ישראל. אני מצפה מממשלת לבנון לממש את ההתחייבות שלה, לפרק את חיזבאללה מנשקו, כי רק כך יתאפשר לכל אזרח בלבנון עתיד טוב יותר, ורק כך תוכל להתקיים שכנות טובה, בטוחה, בין ישראל ללבנון. בהזדמנות הזאת אני רוצה גם לשבח את הנשיא טראמפ על ההחלטה שלו להוציא אל מחוץ לחוק ולהגדיר את ארגון האחים המוסלמים כארגון טרור. זה ארגון שמסכן את היציבות ברחבי המזרח התיכון וגם מעבר למזרח התיכון. ולכן מדינת ישראל כבר הוציאה חלק מהארגון אל מחוץ לחוק, ואנחנו עובדים להשלים את הפעולה הזאת בקרוב.
Still with us on the broadcast is Mr. Spencer Critchley. We of course just heard Benjamin Netanyahu speak after the strike. He's warned that he will not allow the Hezbollah and its elite Radwan forces to regroup. The ceasefire was inked last year, but nothing much has really happened on that front because we are seeing consistent action by the IDF targeting Hezbollah infrastructure in southern Lebanon. Its forces have not really withdrawn as they were expected to under the plan. Hezbollah has neither disarmed as well. Where do you see this situation heading to next? Because the Israelis are now seeming to take the issue into their own hands and have struck Beirut.
Yes, and regional experts had predicted that it might come to this in short order. It caught many observers by surprise when the government of Lebanon put forward this proposal that Hezbollah disarm and in exchange Israel would withdraw from Lebanon. However, there was little faith that Hezbollah would actually cooperate, even if they expressed some initial interest in it. Most people predicted that Hezbollah would do whatever it could to delay actually going through with the disarmament. But it's been clear for quite some time that Israel is not going to tolerate the presence of an armed Hezbollah there and is not interested in withdrawing first and has no reason to trust Hezbollah's intentions there. I wish there were more reason to trust Benjamin Netanyahu. I think that Israel has a right to defend itself against Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. The government of Lebanon itself wants to be free of Hezbollah, a heavily armed presence, a non-governmental heavily armed presence within that country, which takes over authority from the government of Lebanon and unilaterally makes decisions to attack Israel, for example. In the course of fighting Hezbollah, though, and defending Israel, Israel would be in a much stronger position if the government of Israel had more moral authority. But unfortunately, the corruption of Netanyahu and the cruelty with which his administration has pursued its actions in Gaza and in the West Bank has greatly diminished that moral authority.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Hezbollah at large and the attempts to disarm it, we'd seen initially the US a couple of months ago, I believe August, had given a deadline by the 31st to sort of chalk out a plan. That, of course, did not materialize. Hezbollah then outrightly denied any sort of efforts to disarm. We do know that their top leadership has more or less been completely wiped out by the Israelis. The funding from Iran has also been cut down substantially after the 12-day war. And we also recently, interestingly, saw a statement by the US Special Envoy to Syria, Tom Barak, who also has Lebanese origins. He stated, in light of all of this, that Lebanon is a failed state. Do you concur with him?
Yes, I do. I mean, it's a real tragedy as well, because Lebanon is such a beautiful country and has really achieved heights of civilization, as have, of course, other parts of the Middle East. There was a time when Iraq was the global center of civilization. It's terrible to see this happening in Lebanon, but if you don't have a monopoly on violence for a start, as the sociologist Max Weber pointed out in the early 20th century, if the government does not have a monopoly on the use of violence, you don't really have a functioning state. And that is the case in Lebanon, where you have Hezbollah as a more powerful military entity than the legitimate government of Lebanon. So that's for a start. And then when you have this division into sectarian factions, with the risk of disputes devolving into violence at all times, the weakness of civil society and trust in civil society institutions, we have to consider that to be at least a non-functioning or dysfunctional state, if not a failed state.
All right, so with that, I'd like to thank you for taking out time, of course, sharing your perspective and analysis with all of our viewers in these very